has been distributed through Carl Haas. And this week, Lola announced they are opening up a facility in Indianapolis, Indiana, to be managed by former driver Steve Chassie. And so they will have a large, substantial involvement here in the States, though not yet construction here in the States. And I don't necessarily know that that's on the plate. Under a minute to go now, Group 1 qualifying.
All right, I don't think you'll see the construction of the cars move out of England. It's such a cottage industry over there. They've already got it set up. Everything's in-house. It's such a large industry, the automobile racing car, especially single-seaters. Most of them are built in England. In fact, the Ferraris are even designed and the prototypes are constructed in England. And they've got so many people over there that have been working on it for so many years, it'd be hard to transplant that to the States.
That's the kind of thing, too, that in a very few minutes you can get a hold of somebody who has expertise in that little specific area, get him over to your shop or whatever and get it done.
That's right.
Andre Ribeiro, quick overall. He's the time that they're shooting at. Of course, he is waiting for his opportunity to go out. The fastest in Group 1 qualifying thus far has been Gilles de Ferran. And Bryan Herta, second quick out of the session. There he is, and his time as the checkered flag comes out and Group 1 qualifying is complete. Of course, the runs to the line still will in fact count, but Bryan Herta has slowed it down. P.J. Jones comes through, and there's Richie Hearn as he comes back to the Indy cars. Had a big crash at Loudon earlier in the week, says he's still quite sore. So here is the overall times now with the conclusion of Group 1 qualifying figured into the mix. You see de Ferran up there into the 8th position, the fastest out of the Group 1 qualifiers. And that's the there's the rest of the order. There is Herta. He came out of this group. So did Gugelmin, Blundell, Gordon, Vosel, and Krosnoff at 20th. So now we wait for the opportunity for the Group 2 qualifiers to come out, and that should constitute an assault on Andre Ribeiro's pole. We'll be back. In between the two sessions, and there's the fastest guy in the first session, Gilles de Ferran. Let's go to Gary.
Gilles de Ferran, 17th yesterday, up to 8th today, and I understand you were trying to come up with maybe a little secret experimental work yesterday, but it went in the wrong direction on you. Kind of bit you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we're just trying to push the envelope further and further with new development parts and everything, but yes, those development parts didn't work so well, and that means that we had a lot of trouble balancing the car, and I ended up hitting the wall and all that, so we lost a lot of development time. Today we managed to catch up a little bit, but still some work left to do.
Yeah, I'm sure you can't be too happy. You're 8th right now, and there's a very strong possibility you could slide a couple of positions.
For sure. I mean, I think considering everything, if we start in the top 10, I'll be happy.
Okay, that's Gilles de Ferran. Nice move. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
Well, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Now, they've made some changes here on this track, most notably on the main straightaway that, Danny, should make a world of difference.
Well, it does. I think what we're going to see is they've widened it. They've taken a place just behind that grandstand on your left. Between the grandstand and the building is where the old track came out. Very fast corner. Now they have a tighter corner that is still flat out, I think, in 3rd or 4th gear, accelerate down. But what it does is at the end, it gives an additional braking area, which is very important on a street circuit. You got to have places to pass, and I think we're going to see a lot of passing there.
And they've opened up that first turn as well as widened out a couple of others that will help the passing. While it doesn't affect qualifying all that much, it's going to have a very definite effect on tomorrow's race, which, of course, will be covered on ABC Sports. Now, let's talk about the man who's fighting for the championship, and that's Jimmy Vasser, whose last 3 races have been absolutely pitiful in terms of gaining points. What's the problem there?
Well, I don't know if he's just out of his rhythm or whatever, but he came on so strong at the beginning, scored so many points, 4 wins, and now he's really struggling. And what happens with this competitive a field, you get just a little out, you're trying to make up ground. He's had a few mistakes. He's had a few little incidents that dropped him out of the points, and now he is really fighting to get back. But the team definitely hasn't lost it because Zanardi picked up the slack, if you like. He picked that up, and he's had a win. He's been right up there at the front. So the team's still in the gear. He's got to get going again.
Well, Jimmy Vasser climbs in the cockpit ready to go out for Group 2 qualifying. Now, one of the young men that they're really looking at here in Toronto is out of the Canadian contingent. He leads the rookie standings right now, and that's Greg Moore.
Well, Paul, I'm with probably the most popular driver in Canada. He comes across the border, and you're a hero. Your picture is on all the credentials and everything up and down pit lane. Does that put extra pressure on you, Greg?
It probably does when I'm outside of the race car, but once I'm in, my job is to try and win the race and try and qualify in the pole. And I've just got to realize that, I'm on another piece of pavement. Doesn't matter if I'm in Toronto or Brazil. I got to try and win.
You've been having a great season so far, and this morning, for a while, in damp conditions, you were the quickest. Think you can do that now in qualifying?
Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We've got a couple of tricks up our sleeve that I think we can make us go a little bit faster, and everyone here in the players team is real excited to be here in Canada because I think we got a real good shot at winning the race tomorrow.
Looks to me like everyone is looking for grip. This is a low grip circuit, especially over those concrete patches. Driving in the damp and having a good setup, does that help you also in the dry?
I think it will, but we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, Ribeiro's very fast right now, but I think we can catch him.
Greg is anxious to get in the car. We'll see how he does, Paul.
Well, let's take a look once again at the overall times right now. With Andrew Ribeiro, the man on the pole. Alex Zanardi would start alongside Scott Pruitt. Greg Moore, you just met him. And I'll tell you what, he is something to watch here in front of this hometown crowd. Remember, Paul Tracy was spurred on to a victory here in front of the hometown crowd. There's the rest of the order as we go through all of those ready to qualify, as well as those who have already gone out. But very shortly, the green flag will come out for Group 2, the theoretical faster of the two groups. And I think we're going to see some changes in the way they line up. We'll be back. And you're on board with Bobby Rahal as the Group 2 qualifiers are now rolling on the course. This is the first lap. Again, here are the times. Now, these are Group 2 times only for you, with Ribeiro at 58.06, the man to chase. Remember, in terms of a record, because of the course change that Danny talked about just a few minutes ago, everything is a blank page. The race record will be a record. The qualifying record will be a record. You can't compare it to previous times because there's about a 200th change in the race course itself.
Well, it's a little bit, longer, I guess, than the other one with the little change in there. But as you say, with a different course, it'll all be a new record and so forth. But Kirk Russell told us yesterday that he thought it was going to be about a 2-second slower lap than he miscalculated just slightly.
Kirk Russell, of course, is one of the IndyCar officials who helps direct the competition here and does all of the surveys in advance at the race courses. It does a lot of the projection of what changes to the tracks will in fact do to the competition. You get an idea of the downforce that they have dialed into that rear wing on Jimmy Vasser's car. Point to point, it also tells you something about the humidity here in Toronto, but we've seen some contrails at the back edges of the wing.
Yeah, some of the other changes, this section right here that we're just watching, that's all new there. But some of the changes that they made as well is they widened the track, and you say, how did they widen the track? Well, what they did is they took these big concrete barriers that you see right there at the bottom of your screen, and they put them up on top of the curbing. And that gives you, that footprint's probably 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet. So it gives it about 2.5, 3 feet wider. You see the yellow stripes in the lower right of your screen right there. They moved the wall back a little bit right there. Nobody seems to be using it, but they did give them a little bit more area there. And what they've also done, this next corner coming up here, they moved the wall back. You see right there, the wall was away from the corner. It gives the driver a sight line through the corner. As you saw there, they're tucked right in next to that wall. By moving it back, it gives him a little better vision through there.
Michael Andretti, of course, we talked with him earlier, the winningest man at this track. And he's certainly had his victories this year. Tried to go for 3 in a row at Portland, wasn't able to get that job done, but has been very quick thus far in the season. He is in 9th starting position based on qualifying time at the moment. Jan Bikas?
Well, Paul, you're talking about the actual lap time around the racetrack and with Kirk Russell as far as his predictions. But one of the things they didn't account for when Danny was talking about the widening of the track, it turns out that the track, especially around the backside of the course, is quite a bit faster. Yes, they have slowed them down in turns 9, 10, and 11, the final 3 turns before the start-finish line. But by moving the concrete barriers up on top of the curbs, it actually has allowed them to go faster onto the straightaway. And in fact, most teams had to put in new higher gears for 5th and 6th gear. They're going so fast, almost 200 miles an hour down Lakeshore.
And Jan, what kind of effect do you think that's going to have on the competition itself in tomorrow's race?
Paul, I think it's going to make it even better. You have that much more visibility, as Danny was talking about. As you go through the apexes, you can see if the course is clear, which gives the driver a lot more confidence. And then, of course, the faster you go, the more opportunity you have to draft and go to the inside and make that big passing maneuver down into that tight hairpin.
And you're seeing right there on that corner, for example, in Michael's Andretti's onboard camera, where they have those concrete patches. That wall used to come right out to that curbing. And we're coming into the hairpin down here. They actually moved the inside of the hairpin here back 5 feet. Now they'll go here. This is actually uphill, blind, still uphill, drops away a little bit. Now look on your left-hand side. See all that concrete there and the red stripes? That red stripe used to be where the wall was. That gives the driver a lot more confidence, even though he's not shortening the circuit that much, but he can actually see around it, knows how much speed to carry.
Well, here is the current pole sitter, the provisional pole sitter, Andre Ribeiro, 58.060 his time. He has not yet improved on that. Again, a hint of contrail at the right rear of the wing. Now the left rear.
See how he goes out there, that new widened area there, the yellow stripe? He only gets a wheel right to the yellow. I haven't seen hardly anybody go over that yellow stripe, but when they come to racing, you might see a lot of people using that. You might even see a couple people trying to pass around the outside.
Pole winners here. Emerson Fittipaldi has 3. Bobby Rahal has 2. Danny Sullivan, you had 2 poles on this track.
I did have 2 poles here, but unfortunately I was a bridesmaid many a year, but I never won this event. I think it's a fabulous track. They did a tremendous job here for a street circuit, and the difficulty of the street circuit, as you know, is that you're limited just to where you can go by what's available. But this is a great place.
Villeneuve, Gordon, and Michael all have 1 pole each. It's interesting that only 1 time has this race been won from the pole, and that was by Michael Andretti in 1991. Here's Alex Zanardi as he starts to move up to speed. Not yet on a hot lap, but we've also seen some good performances out of him over the weekend. Maybe he's going to take a run for the pole. We'll be back. Well, it's qualifying today for the Indy cars. Tomorrow from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, IndyCar on the grid at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, and that'll be followed, of course, by the live coverage on ABC Sports live at 2 p.m. Eastern, except, of course, on the West Coast. So the qualifying round continues, and here is Greg Moore. That's turn 1 in the runoff, not part of the course.
Well, he's missed the corner there, but what he did when he went right, go down behind what you see on the left of your screen, you'll see him come back out on the track. They've got a neat little escape road down there, and it's a very safe way actually to get back on course.
And how would you know about that so well?
I think I've been down there once or twice.
Let's go down the pits to Jan.
Well, just to give you a quick update as to what has been going on during changes when we went away to break. Scott Pruitt came in, said the car was loose. They put a bigger wicker, a gurney flap on the rear wing to get more downforce. The same kind of situation seems to be going on for Andre Ribeiro. His car was also loose. They decided to change the rear shock absorbers, give it more rebound to help hold the rear of the car down. So it seems like the temperature has come up, and now the cars are starting to get loose.
Well, Scott Pruitt looked very loose through the last couple of corners. He's currently 3rd quick. The way the lineup is now is Ribeiro, Zanardi, Pruitt, Greg Moore, Adrian Fernandez, Parker Johnstone, Al Unser Jr., and Gil DeFerrin in 8th. Then Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal, and Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herta, and Paul Tracy, then Christian Fittipaldi, then Emerson Fittipaldi, Mauricio Guzman, Mark Blundell. That takes you down to 17th and includes everybody in the current Group 2.
I just want to clarify something for the folks at home. Jan Bikas mentioned, of course, rebound in the shock absorber, and for everybody that doesn't know what that is basically a shock absorber has 2 adjustments, or these are 2-way adjustable, which is bump, which absorbs the shock going up, and then rebound, which pushes the shock back down on the ground. And you can adjust them either bump or rebound. And so these guys are just playing with it. And believe it or not, it's very critical. 1 click or 2 clicks of bump or rebound can change the handling of the car. When they want more rebound, they want to push that tire back down on the ground when it comes over the bump.
Jan?
Well, if you take a close look at Greg Moore's machine, we saw him go off the racetrack. Now he's got a brand new set of tires. It's a little bit early to put on new tires, but what the team believes happened was he locked up the brakes, slid down that escape road, and of course when you do that, it flat spots the tires. So this will be the last set of tires. You can only use 2 per session here in IndyCar. So Greg Moore's going forward early.
Well, Jan, and also just to add to that as well, you get 2 for the qualifying, but you get a total of 7 sets for the weekend. So tire management is very important on how they go about it. And you're right, these guys did not want to put these new set of tires on this early, but if you flat spot it, you know, lock it up and flat spot parts, it makes a very uncomfortable car to drive.
Christian Fittipaldi coming in currently 14th quick, driving for Newman Haas. And now we come back to take a look at excuse me, Jimmy
Whoa,
Vasser.
did you see him slide out there? You talk about a car that was loose or oversteering. That was about as close as you want to get right out there.
I was looking for Vasser's position on the computer scoring. Currently 11th quick at 108.5. There you see it.
He's one of the first guys that I've seen that went out over the yellow line as much as he did.
And this, of course, is the man we've been talking about who has, in the past couple of races, faltered in his run for the championship. Now, he still currently is the points leader, but his ability to score points has been greatly hampered recently.
You know, that's no reflection of Jimmy. He's obviously a talented driver. He wouldn't have won those races, but he obviously just can't get the balance right. And
he's a pure race driver. That's all he thinks about, is how he can go fast. Gary Gerould?
Well, his teammate Alex Zanardi has just come in for his first tweak on the car. Remember now, he was second in the provisional qualifying yesterday. Interesting, I think, Paul, to note that the top 6 qualifiers yesterday were all on Firestone tires, and we were just doing an inventory. All 6 of them were on Firestone's optional tire, which is a little softer, which gives them more grip. We've heard so many drivers complaining about the lack of grip on this particular surface. Well, it seems to be working for Firestone. The question, of course, becomes under race conditions tomorrow, will they get that good grip for the 34, 38 laps that are necessary before the first of 2 scheduled pit stops? Right now, Zanardi and the crew are talking and just routine maintenance here. They're not making any tire change yet, although they do have fresh Firestones ready to go when he tries to make a bonsai run later to sneak that pole away from Andre Ribeiro.
Well, that's Morris Nunn, the engineer, leaning over the cockpit. That's what's on Zanardi's helmet now. And let me explain this to you. Rob Hill has been his chief mechanic throughout the year. He went home to Indianapolis, where the team is based, and came down with some sort of a virus that became so serious they took him to the hospital. 34 years old. They put him in the hospital and put in a cardiac pacemaker. He is still in the hospital, and the team certainly wanted to say hello in whatever way they could. They're very concerned about him. They hope he gets better. And of course, here in a run for the championship, that's a tremendous impact on this team. Alex Zanardi scoring his first victory in Indy cars at Portland. And what they have done is made a change within the management group, and Mike Hull is going to actually crew chief the car this year. So that's the story on the change on Alex Zanardi's helmet. And Rob, we do hope that you get better quick and get back to the Indy cars just as soon as you can. No changes in the top of the order. We'll be back. Well, if you want to find out what's going on this weekend in racing with the Winston Cup over at Loudon and the Formula One Grand Prix of Britain and the Molson Indy Toronto, anything that's fast, it's covered on RPM tonight, and it's only right here on ESPN2. Well, the qualifying continues. Since we left you, there has been no change. The front 4, Ribeiro, Zanardi, Pruitt, and Greg Moore, followed by Fernandez and Johnstone. Jan Beekes?
Paul, we were talking about the fact that Greg Moore brought his car in and put on a new set of tires, and Danny agreed with me that it was too early to go for those tires. So, Players Team Forsyth decided to wait on sending him out until the other cars started to come in to put their new tires on. They found a clean piece of road. They sent him out with only enough fuel to do 6 laps. So right now, Greg Moore is going out trying to do a flyer.
Well, we've been watching Paul Tracy, the coverage, of course, coming from our colleagues at CBC Canada. Brian Williams, their host commentator, assisted, if that's the word I can use, by Bobby Unser over there. And they have been watching Paul Tracy lately, who is the only one who has gone quicker than his time yesterday. The fastest in the session today has been Greg Moore with a 58.9, but of course that's not nearly enough to knock Andrew Ribeiro off the pole.
And of course that shot we saw of Paul Tracy coming down the end of the straightaway into the braking area, and that big white smoke coming off of his tire. That's how you flat spot a tire. You make it square in one spot, makes the car very uncomfortable to drive. That's why you saw him come into the pits there.
Well, what's the rule if I run, as we watch Michael Andretti, my fastest lap of the weekend, and as I'm finishing that lap, I run off in turn one, flat spot the tires. Do I still have to follow the rule that says you have to start the race on the qualifying tires?
You have to start the race on a set that is stamped in the qualifying run. That's 2 yesterday or 2 today. You do not have to start on that specific. There's no way that they could kind of keep up. The manpower would be unruly to keep that many people trying to know which lap the guy made his fastest run on.
On board with Michael Andretti now, Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary Gerould updated us as far as Chip Ganassi and the Firestone, but let's talk about Michael Andretti and Goodyear. He is another one of these Goodyear runners that has decided to go with the primary tire as opposed to the option. The primary being more durable but not as fast. Therefore, they're going to give up a little bit in qualifying, but hopefully that'll be what they need for the race.
So back to watching Greg Moore now, who has finally decided it's time to head out.
One thing else about options or the standard tire, all of this, these guys are picking the tire partly, Jan, like you said, one's a little bit more reliable or more durable. He just locked up the tires right there. But also which one suits the balance of the car. Sometimes, as we saw with Al Unser Jr. yesterday, who was running around 17th, 18th spot, changed a set of tires, and boom, was up to 7th spot in 1 lap. That he liked that on his car, so they're going to stick with that tire.
Pat Patrick driver Scott Pruitt just kicked the speed up a little bit. Still third quick at 107.48. Moore, now they're reporting out that Moore is now third quick, 1/1000th of a second faster than Scott Pruitt. So Greg Moore moves into third quick. It's the only position change thus far in Group 2 qualifying. As we watch Greg Moore, let's go down to Gary Gerould. Oh, no! Moore just really ricocheted off the wall. That had to do something.
That did some damage. He'll come in for sure this time. You can see him, the car's moving around a little bit there on the straight. He's off on the inside.
Well, while he's coming in, let's try to get back to Gary.
Paul, we're already on the run down here to check on Greg Moore when he gets in. Just wanted to mention that Scott Pruitt had just gone back out. Also, Christian Fittipaldi. And I see that Jan's already here for Moore.
Watch this. He's going in the first corner. This is a tricky corner all the way. Comes out. He's got his foot in it. He's got a little bit. Boom. Slides. Hits it again on the outside there. Watch. We've got another angle here. He'll slide it out. He's got it turned. Now he's the back end kicks out. Car was sliding a little bit at the tail. Tap that wall. I don't think it's severe damage. And you know what? He must like it because he didn't even stop.
Now that's a surprise. He's decided not to come in. Jan Beekes is right there in that pit. Maybe he can check with the team. Jan, any idea why they decided to keep him out? It was a pretty good lick.
Well, I'll have to say that I saw the same pictures that the crew did up on the big Diamond Vision. They expected to see him on pit road, but then he called in and said, I think the car is okay. Remember, when you have a new set of tires, you want to try and get everything out of them you can. Once you come into the pit, sometimes you lose a little bit of that grip. Now the crew looks like they're getting ready for him to come in next time. But his father told me, you know, Greg likes to rub the walls. I had to buy 11 wheels when he used to run Indy Lights. He likes to cut it close, but this time, obviously, guys, it was too close.
Well, it got into the wall pretty hard, as now we're tracking Scott Pruitt, who is fourth quick. I would say it was hard enough to move something over.
Well, even if you want to check it, that was more than, you know, I've rubbed up against a few walls in my day, and it's one thing to white wall a tire and take Goodyear off or something like that. But that was a pretty good lick right there. And what you really don't want to happen is you maybe broke a little link or something like this, and now you're flying down one of the straightaways and it breaks. the rest of the way, and next thing you know, you've crashed your car and destroyed it.
And now you have a big problem. We watch Michael Andretti as Greg Moore comes in. He is the only one who has improved during this session. He's moved from 4th quick up to 3rd quick. That's the inside of the 2nd row. We'll be back. Well, we both agreed that that lick was a little harder than you should have had to keep the car out. See the bend there in the suspension arm on the A-arm? That's not normal.
No, that's that link is definitely damaged, and I don't know whether they have a spare one that they can put right on there or not, or whether they're even going to bother to do that, but that took the brunt of the blow. He's out of the car. So.
Yeah, Greg climbs out of the car. I don't think there's nearly enough time to consider any kind of change, but I guess the backup car is an option, but it's awfully late in the session to be grabbing that thing.
Well, and also let's not forget he's sitting 3rd. I mean, nobody's really going that quick, and they're probably saying, hey, okay, fair enough. We just been a link. We don't have another set of tires either. We've used our 2. Let's just hold on and see what happens.
And in terms of a repair, it just can't be done quickly right now. It could probably be done in 15 minutes, but it can't be done in the 7.
If you were really struggling and you weren't in 3rd, they could measure up that link on the back and put it in there, and it would probably be tracked right. But these cars are so sensitive to a thousandth of an inch of adjustment that they just want to make sure they get it right. And as I said, he's in 3rd spot. They're probably pretty confident right now. Nobody's really moving. He's not like he's dropped down to 10th. I'm not saying that won't happen, but at the moment they're pretty confident.
Here's the current car that lies 5th quick as he comes around his Tasman teammate. This is Fernandez. And you would have thought that he was on a hot lap, but first of all, he got behind his own teammate, and now he's slowed up once again, so I'm not so sure. No, and see, he comes offline, slows it down.
Now, what he'll wait for is he sees that car in front of him, knows he's going to get caught over there. See him slowing way down, and what he's going to do is slow down, save the tires. He'll come by the start-finish line where they do the timing and scoring, and he'll wind it up and get on a hot lap and try to catch that car again. Remember, they're only looking for 1 lap fast here.
All right, Greg Moore is now settled down a bit, taking his helmet off. Jan Beekes?
Well, Greg, you had a great run going. You tried for more speed. The back end slipped out. But, yeah, you keep going. You didn't think the car was damaged initially?
No, I wanted to see because I knew I had a real good exit out of 1 and stuff, so I thought that maybe that lap might be a little bit faster. It wasn't a lot slower, but like you said, I touched the wall a little bit. We bent one track rod in the back, and that's it for today.
How disappointing is this? Was there more speed in the car for you?
No, I think that's pretty much about all there was. I think the rain this morning took some of the grip away from the racetrack, but you know, I'm pleased. We're 3rds right now, and you know, not many people have really moved up through the grid, so you know, I'm pleased with my time.
And like he told us, he had some tricks, and they worked for him.
Now, Adrian Fernandez off the edge of the course. He's going to be able to get it back into action, though. As a matter of fact, Greg Moore, this is, if he can stay in 3rd place, his best start. Here's what happened to Fernandez. His best start thus far has been a 4th at Brazil and Cleveland, so Moore's looking pretty good.
See, comes in there hot. The car jumped around a little bit at the back. There's some bumps in there under braking area. He made the wise decision rather than try to get it around the corner where he could have spun it and hit something. He just locked him up, went straight, stopped. He's back up. He'll go back into the pits probably and just have an adjustment change.
Ribeiro, Zampedri, still the front row. Moore, Pruitt, the 2nd row. Fernandez, this car right here, Adrian Fernandez, and Parker Johnstone make up row 3. Then Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal in the 4th row. Gil de Ferran and Michael Andretti in the 5th. But here comes Ribeiro. He's out on course so he can protect his qualifying time, protect his pole position, or maybe improve on the 58.06 that he already laid down. In fact, he laid that time down yesterday. We'll be back. You can follow the Indy cars through the weekend from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, the Molson Indy. IndyCar on the grid here on the Deuce at 1:30 in the afternoon. And then the Molson Indy Toronto will be covered on ABC live in the East, everywhere except the West Coast, at 2 o'clock Eastern. So the final minutes of qualifying as they crawl all over the top of Bobby Rahal's car. He moved up to 8th and pushed Gil de Ferran back to 9th place. And so he's come back in. this, I think, is really the guy that we're going to have to watch. If an assault is going to come, it's going to come out of the target team, and it'll probably come from Alex Zanardi. Gary Gerould?
Paul, I think it's interesting that while everybody else, it seems like most of the teams at this end of the pits went to their second set of tires relatively early in this session. Zanardi and his crew waited until there were 3.5 minutes to go. They just ducked in here. He's got the new skins on right now and is on the circuit. So I would say that this next time by might be the one that he's looking for if he can clear traffic.
Yeah, he backs out of it. Apparently he didn't like the traffic he was running in at the moment. There's the team as they keep track on a large screen, a Diamond Vision screen. Here there are several around the track of the progress of their car. I wonder how they feel when suddenly they're the thing up on the screen. Get that off of there. I want to see the car.
Oh, I think everybody likes to see themselves on the big screen every now and again, but what they're really trying to see is watch what's going on with their team and their car out there.
There's one of those screens right outside the automotive building here,
which is right next, of course, to their pit.
Whoa.
Big smoke there.
Came off
like
of
Paul Tracy.
Came off of Tracy's car. I thought I saw in the same area on an upshift earlier a puff of smoke. I wonder if that's why Zanardi decided maybe I don't want to be behind him. Bobby Rahal, they're now reporting that his session will come to an end because of mechanical problems, but still he made a substantive improvement jumping around Gil de Ferran and moving into 8th qualifying position. So still watching the clock on Zanardi. Under 45 seconds now to the end of the qualifying session. And Scott Pruitt moves back around Greg Moore into the 3rd position. So Scott Pruitt in the last few seconds, new tires, comes out and jumps around. There he is. You're on board with Scott Pruitt. 20 seconds to go now. The play is in Zanardi's hand.
Don't forget, Paul,
all they have Pruitt's hand, though, couldn't it?
Well, it could be, but I think Zanardi's got a closer time to Ribeiro. Don't forget, all they have to do is get past this spot right here, right where the starter stand is. See that right there? If he gets by there without getting the checkered, which he did not.
I think he got the checkered and the yellow.
Checkered, but the yellow is just a car sitting right there. But if he had gotten by there without the checkered, he would have gotten one more lap. But that's his qualifying run is over.
So checkered came out just as Scott Pruitt came onto that straight. And Adrian Fernandez on the last lap has jumped up into 3rd quick, pushing Pruitt to the outside of the 2nd row, and Greg Moore all the way down into the 3rd row, 5th starting position. So where he had hoped for his best start of his career, he ends up in 5th quick. Al Unser Jr. As we wait for the rest of the cars to come across the line and acknowledge the checkered flag and score their final times in qualifying here. When we come back, we'll be talking with the pole sitter, Andre Ribeiro. Stay with us. So Andre Ribeiro takes the 2nd pole of his career. The first time he took pole, he went on to win the race last year at Loudon. Here's Gary Gerould.
Well, Paul, here's the young man who protects the moment, his 2nd career pole. And the thing that immediately comes to mind, Andre, the first time you won a pole, you then won your first career IndyCar race. Are you capable of doing that again tomorrow?
Well, the Tasman team is doing a fantastic job with us. The car looks very good. Adrian is doing a fantastic job as well. So we are in good shape for the race.
Everybody's been talking about how hard it is to get grip, to get hold of this racetrack. Are you having any of those kinds of problems?
Well, of course, yes, but probably a little bit less than the others. So we're still fighting a little bit to find some grip on the track, but I think we are on the right direction.
Biggest concern about the distance tomorrow and trying to get another career victory?
Well, durability on the tires, on fuel, and on the engine. So we have to take care of this.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well, the LCI car sits on the pole. Here's the way they will line up for the run tomorrow in the Molson Indy Toronto. Top 6 cars are on Firestone tires. Top 3 are all Honda powered. Our points leader, Timmy Faster, will start in 11th position. 2nd in points, Al Unser Jr. will start up in 7th. And Gil de Ferran, who at Cleveland moved into 3rd in the points, is starting in 9th place. So that championship battle is very much part of all of this here this weekend. Good run, too, by the teammate, Adrian Fernandez. And right now, he's with Jan Bigas.
When we talked to Andre Ribeiro at the beginning of the show, we talked about how well he worked together with his teammate. Now, tell me, fastest lap of the day, 3rd on the grid. That's got to be pretty exciting in these slippery conditions.
Yeah, we didn't know about all this until, you start saying it now, because, when we are there, we are fighting for our position. I knew that I had to be the 48-0. Conditions on the track, they were not as good as yesterday. So, I tried to see yesterday where I was losing to Andre, and mainly was on the braking. So you saw that I went off one time, trying to use the maximum amount of braking distance. I mean, the less amount of braking distance, but still being able to get out of the corner. And I practiced a few times, and I said to the guys before my last lap, I say, the car is pushing very bad, and I'm just going to try to concentrate to clean, without trying too hard. And that was the lap, so I was very pleased for the team that the guys did a great effort.
Well, I have to say, for a car that was pushing really bad, this guy pushed the pedal, Paul.
A guy to watch tomorrow. Coming up next, today at the races, of course, we'll have the Indy cars here on the Deuce, on the grid, and then coverage of the Molson Indy Toronto on ABC Sports. So join us tomorrow right back here.